Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero here for episode number 75 here on Friday, April 6th, 2017. Have you simmered down from yesterday's podcast of Primetime Extra and yesterday's broadcast of Primetime on television in Milwaukee?
When you disagree with everything that I say and you cut me off, it's unpleasant for me.
I cut you off to save yourself. Because you speak inappropriately.
Is that a toe comment?
I don't know about your little piggy that went to market.
It did go to market. It's never going to come back.
Did it get arrested for shoplifting?
No. My toes aren't felons.
Nor are they felt. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get down to it.
Is that an apathy joke?
With big news coming out of the programming from WWE earlier this week about the Superstar shakeup coming on Monday, we thought it would be good for us to take time here to talk a little bit about that Superstar shakeup, speculate as to why it's happening, and look at what might happen on Monday night when it begins. So first, David Hero, let's go over the rules, I guess, as we know them now for this Superstar shakeup. There can be trades, there can be deals, there could be all kinds of shenanigans, I guess, involved with who's going to end up where. It's not a draft per se, which WWE has historically done.
When is our draft? And who won?
Well, we'll be announcing that on the Primetime Podcast. We did announce that, rather, on the Primetime Podcast. Did you not?
I want to hear it again. I deserve the pat on the back.
For losing?
I had the best team on paper.
Depends on how you look at it.
I won.
It depends on how you look at it.
Whatever.
Well, it was weird, and as I said on the podcast, when I opened up the document to look at the scores and input the scores, it was all in Russian all of a sudden. And I did not understand that at all.
Well, if you play it backwards or hold up against a mirror, you can read everything just fine.
I don't think mirrors can change languages.
I know, but it's backwards. Russian is English
Anyways,
backwards.
folks, we will be announcing the date of the PWR Fantasy Draft coming up here soon. But the shake-up, it's time to shake things up again. Love it when Vince says that. Will occur next week on WWE programming. Why do you think they're doing this, David Hero? Is it because let's back up. So on each brand, you've got your draw, your major star, your top star, if you will, right? Currently on Raw, you would say it's who?
On Raw, Roman Reigns.
Seth Rollins? Roman Reigns, good point. On SmackDown, you would say it's who currently?
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, not John Cena?
Or AJ Styles.
Not John Cena?
No, because Cena's only part-time. Oops, high spot. How'd that happen?
I don't know, but why don't you fix it? Sometimes I think we should change the name of the show from Feedback Friday to KinderCare Television.
How about picture pages? I love picture pages.
Isn't that what got Bill Cosby in trouble? Speaking of Bill Cosby, is Bill the worst name to have right now as it pertains to sexual harassment, Mr. O'Reilly? His definition of a no-spin cycle is no-spin zone, rather, is a unique one.
Well, why?
Well, he's got to spin himself out of a zone now.
He'll be fine.
How so?
He's got money.
That's what got him this far and in trouble this far. Let me say this, folks. I'm not sure there's anybody who could do anything or have anything over me that I would willingly give them $9 million to stay quiet about. $900, perhaps. I may have done that last week. $9 million.
How do you think it was for $9 million, though?
That's the case. It doesn't matter how good it was. Whether it was good or bad, you still got to silence the lambs, if you will.
Have you done? Well,
no, I've never done a lamb.
I was not.
Mary had a little lamb.
She did?
She had a little lamb.
That sounds filthy, too.
The shakeup, the Superstar shakeup. So right now, Roman Reigns and you say Randy Orton.
Or AJ Styles.
Or AJ Styles. So you think that Orton and Styles are the ones drawing for SmackDown house shows?
Yeah.
For SmackDown house shows right now. They're the draws.
Yeah.
Okay?
I can see Roman Reigns going over to SmackDown.
Really?
I could, yeah.
So you've got your top names, people who sell tickets, people who make pay-per-view buys happen, people who, as you say, David Hero, look good on the poster. You've got, as you said, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Randy Orton. You have currently John Cena, but you don't going forward. Who else do you have? Is Kevin Owens in that category?
Oh, he's the top guy.
Is Seth Rollins in that category?
Top guy.
Who else is in that category, though? Because really, those are the big names that you're going to see. That you're going to see have movement.
I just said Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman is a top guy in your opinion. Okay, so he sells tickets at house shows.
He is a special.
He sells
attraction.
pay-per-view events.
No, there are no pay-per-view events anymore.
He sells special events.
Yeah, he's a special attraction.
So what's going to happen? Who's going to go where? You say you wouldn't be surprised if Reigns went to SmackDown. But here's what's interesting. Goldberg.
The crowd would go nuts if Reigns left Raw. Think about that.
He probably long-term would do better being on SmackDown because he can. It would be viewed by the fans as a demotion, while long-term it's actually a promotion.
And I could see AJ coming to Raw.
Because he's done all he can on SmackDown, hasn't he?
He's beaten everyone there.
He's been the champion. He's beaten everybody there.
It's like
he's got heat with Shane.
You got to send Reigns away because he's already worked with Owens.
He's worked the territory.
Everybody, and they got to keep him away from Brock for right now.
Even though Brock Lesnar, or Paul Heyman rather, mentioned only two superstars by name of the future of Lesnar, and that being Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. Now, Braun Strowman would confront and then back down, but I found it interesting, though. So if Reigns goes to SmackDown, what does that mean for Brock Lesnar if he's interested in Reigns down the road?
AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar match.
So Finn Balor can't take on Brock Lesnar, but AJ Styles can.
Absolutely, because AJ's at least 30 pounds heavier. And is a different kind of wrestler. He beat John Cena clean. Has Finn Balor beaten John Cena clean?
Finn Balor's been out for 8 months, and prior to being there, he had just debuted in WWE.
Who has Finn Balor ever beat?
Is AJ Styles a former Universal Champion? Because Finn Balor is.
He's a former TNA World Impact Heavyweight Wrestling Champion.
Which doesn't matter because TNA is now defunct.
No, it's not.
TNA is defunct.
They got that owl gimmick.
TNA is defunct.
Okay,
TNA does not exist. And AJ Styles was never the Impact Wrestling Champion.
Former Ring of Honor champion.
Moving on. So, who goes to Raw if Reigns goes to SmackDown? You say maybe AJ Styles, but are there bigger names than that? Does Seth Rollins move somewhere else because he's got the dissension with Stephanie and her husband?
No, Rollins is going to be the guy in Raw.
Does Kevin Owens go somewhere else?
No.
Women's division and tag team division. Does Charlotte go somewhere else? Does Bayley? Well, Bayley's a champion, so I wouldn't expect that. Does Sasha Banks go somewhere else? Does Nia Jax go somewhere else?
I could see Charlotte or Sasha going.
Here's the challenge. One would say Raw has the more exciting female or women's division, yet SmackDown has the substantially larger women's division right now. Do you normalize that, even that out a little bit between the two brands in this shakeup? Not necessarily moving people. I'm sorry, not necessarily, taking a Charlotte and putting her on SmackDown, but do you take a Carmella and move her to Raw to get her in the mix? Just an example of somebody.
Carmella was to go to Raw.
Well, Ellsworth could come with her.
That'd be the worst thing for him too.
But do you shore up the Raw women's division?
Ellsworth could be in 205 Live. He's going to be under 200 pounds.
Do you shore up the women's division on Raw with this shakeup? Or is it not necessary because they've been doing fine with fewer? Will people get sick of those 4 women? Because aren't there only 4?
There are only 4. That's why
women on Raw. So you're saying, no, they shouldn't, but yes, they should.
Well, who are you going to bring over?
That's the question. I don't know.
Natty again? No. Becky Lynch?
Who's on Total Divas nowadays? Because that show just started this past week.
I don't watch that show. I work with you.
Maybe is Paige repaired from her injury, her neck injury? Maybe she comes back.
What did you just say on her back?
I said nothing about her on her back. Actually, in none of those videos was she on her back. None of the ones I saw. She was generally upright.
Let me pull them back up again. I forgot.
You definitely don't have time for that. Can you place that device down, please, sir?
Fine.
You seem to be in disagreement, though, of a shakeup even occurring. Do you not feel that this is the reset after WrestleMania?
If you are going to draft or shakeup, just draft from NXT.
Which they did on Monday and Tuesday.
Right, but just do it that way. Draft those kids up. Leave the locker rooms how they are for right now.
So you don't think SmackDown will be damaged without John Cena?
No.
You think it could move forward as is?
Absolutely. Just like Raw wasn't damaged without having a Universal Champion for the last 4 months on their program. Goldberg didn't defend it.
Yeah, different though. It's WrestleMania season. He was on. He was on the show.
Owens didn't really defend it.
True. I think that's a whole different. I don't even want to get into that whole part-time champion thing because I think our opinions have been shared frequently on that subject, and it's a moot subject. But I'm excited for the shakeup. I think this is it's an opportunity to do something different, to make some noise, if you will, in WWE at a time where there would not be noise because it's the WrestleMania hangover, if you will. And we'll see what they do. This could be nothing. Maybe no big names do end up moving on Raw and SmackDown this upcoming week. But maybe at the same time, it is some big shakeups that are going to occur. We'll all find out together on Monday and Tuesday on Raw and SmackDown. With that, it is time to take a time out. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we've got your comments here on Feedback Friday. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Feedback Friday right here on Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, Fight TV. And I want to thank everybody at Fight TV for all of their work and assistance this past weekend. As you know, David Hero, I was broadcasting live from WrestleCon on both Friday and Saturday with SoCal Val and our correspondent Jason Solomon of the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast. Just all kinds of fun. And much like the shenanigans party that we talked about on primetime yesterday, it's a who's who of who did stop by and was a part of that broadcast on Fight TV.
You had Crime Time.
We had Crime Time, Brooklyn. We had Mean Gene Okerlund, Kevin Nash, Billy Gunn, Demolition Action Smash, the Headbangers.
Your good friend Magnus.
Magnus stopped by
a couple of times.
EC3 stopped by as well. I did not put Magnus on the spot. He's got a problem with wrestling podcasters for some reason.
Yeah.
Of which we are not. Oh, I guess we are we? We do a wrestling podcast, but we're not wrestling podcasters.
No.
I'm a broadcast journalist.
And I'm an opinionist.
We don't do it, well, never mind. But he had something to say about you, by the way, about opinionists, if you will. He said opinions are worthless.
No, they're not. If
That's
they're
what he said.
I'm just
the messenger.
They make the most sense on the planet.
No, that's an educated opinion.
That's what I do. I'm
educated
and I have an opinion. You put the two words together.
Again, want to thank everybody at Fight TV. It was really, really fun, and we're in discussions right now as to when we can bring you that kind of coverage again, and just making sure it's right and fits
I hope I'm a part of
the timeline. Don't keep your hopes up, pal.
Oh, thanks.
But let's get to your comments, ladies and gentlemen. The thing that makes this show work, if you will.
Twerk?
First comment comes to us from a YouTube user by the name of Ben Gotti, who says this. And this was a follow-up from a question he had sent in prior. Do you think the WWE can make a modern-day Heenan family with Paul Heyman? The Heyman family, not like his client stable before with Ryback and Curtis Axel, but bringing up some guys from NXT, maybe a Bobby Roode, a Samoa Joe, or the Revival as its first members. Now, maybe it goes as far as him turning on Lesnar, setting up maybe Joe versus Lesnar at SummerSlam. I think what Ben is saying is, and thank you for that comment, is there could be a lot of possibilities if Paul Heyman expanded his realm a little bit.
Why would it just be called the Dangerous Alliance?
Ooh, old school. Back to his WCW days. Would he bring back the cordless phone?
He could do a Dangerous Alliance, but not with Brock Lesnar.
Because Lesnar, why?
He just takes up way too much space.
He's a man on his own. He's a man who stands alone, if you will. And you don't have... Well, let's look at the biggest faction, stables, alliances, if you will, of the past.
The Heenan family.
The Heenan family. But Heenan never... He had... Andre the Giant was his centerpiece for a while, right?
Yes.
Who else were his centerpieces of the family?
Bundy and Stud. He had Haku. He had Hercules.
But who was the centerpiece during all those times? What I'm getting at is can you have a Brock Lesnar that doesn't overshadow everybody else who is in that group?
Ravishing Rick Rude.
True. Mm-hmm.
But I think Bundy and Stud and Rude and Orndorff were his centerpieces.
Yeah.
You know. But as long as you have Brock...
So the Red Rooster wasn't?
No. No. The Brooklyn Brawler wasn't either.
Really? Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Somebody told me he was at the shenanigans party. Is that true?
I did not see him, but I did see him at WrestleCon.
I can't imagine how he... Really? So maybe he was at the shenanigans party.
He could have been.
We were right next door, you know.
You were busy.
I was very busy, yes. Yes, I was busy.
You did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes.
You scratched a few cars when you parked them, but overall, you did great.
I tipped the valet drivers very, very well.
I'm sure you did.
to remain quiet. Next comment comes to us from a YouTube user by the name of Sir Disney. And you went to Disney this past week, David
I had
Hero.
a little gimmick scooter.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I honked all around Animal Kingdom.
So you were like George Costanza when he had
I was so obnoxious.
the large bathrooms.
You have no idea how obnoxious
You
it
went to
was.
the Animal Kingdom, one of my favorite Disney parks.
And Hollywood Disney.
Did you see the Festival of the Lion King show?
No.
Oh. Did you ride?
I went on the safari thing.
You did you?
I saw elephants.
Any
I saw
polar bears?
giraffes.
No polar bears?
They're not,
It's a
they're
safari,
not in
not
Africa,
the Arctic.
dude.
And polar bears don't reside in Africa? That's complete
didn't say
opposite of where
that.
you just said they were in Africa.
I said polar bears aren't in Africa, dude.
Oh, yes, I'm well aware of that. They're in the Arctic, what remains of it.
Yeah.
Because we keep messing that up, too.
They wouldn't be polar bears in Africa.
Well, they'd be bears.
Brown bears?
Why they got to be brown?
Because their pigmentation would turn brown.
It's their fur color.
It's the same thing.
Sir Disney had the following to say, and I quote, "Why do you think the cruiserweights are not as popular as the company thought? I think it's because back in WCW when they first started, they did moves that the bigger guys would not do." You've made this point, David Hero.
I've said it the last 10
Nowadays,
weeks.
continuing with the comment, nowadays every guy can do any move, so there is no individuality with the smaller guys. When Braun Strowman can go on or off the top rope or Samoa Joe flies around the ring, it sort of makes things less distinct.
Exactly.
I will say this, though. Milwaukee's very own Austin Aries and his return and the feud with Neville and James Gallagher, the cruiserweight division now has more relevance to me than it initially
What did
did.
you think about the finish to Austin Aries' match?
I refresh my memory. What happened?
He got pinned clean.
Yeah?
I was surprised.
Really?
For a guy that talked as much smack, and yeah, you know, they did the whole thing with his face, that I'm just surprised that's how the finish went. It was an uneventful finish for him.
It was uneventful. I did expect Aries to get the win, but I was satisfied by the matchup. It was a match I was actually interested in as opposed to most cruiserweight matchups.
Well, yeah, because he had an emotional investment in Austin Aries.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hometown guy.
Well, not only that, but he was able to build a character as a result of his injury and doing the commentary stuff and the A Double News Network or whatever it was. Again, to the point we've made about cruiserweights in the past is give me a reason to care about the
Why
individuals.
do you hate them so much?
The question was, give me a reason to care about the individuals. And I think that they finally started to do that because without an emotional investment, I am not that guy who sat through 12 wrestling shows, including NXT, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, SmackDown, and Raw. There is never a day where I will be that fan who can just watch those stuff, let alone go to other wrestling shows and watch wrestlers I don't know and haven't invested in just to see great wrestling. I'm not knocking them. I'm just not that fan. So I need to have some reason to care about a person getting a win or loss, and I now have one in the cruiserweight division amongst some of the talents because they have quote-unquote characters, which is a good thing.
Neville is unbeatable right now.
Unbeatable?
Unbeatable.
Forever, ever?
Until Finn Balor gets down there. Who's
Thank
gonna
you
beat him?
for those
Who's gonna-
comments, ladies and
seriously?
gentlemen. I want to remind all of
TJ
you
Perkins gonna come
to
out and beat
subscribe
him?
to our free podcast. Here, Feedback Friday is a podcast. We also have our PWR Primetime podcast and our PWR Reaction podcast. We had a live show right after WrestleMania. We have a live show after Raw every Monday night. And our flashback to WCW Nitros of the Past every Wednesday, all free to you from the Pro Wrestling Report. 3 separate podcasts, all available on all your favorite podcast channels. Primetime, Feedback Friday, and Reaction. Don't forget Primetime Extra, the only place to get the extended version of Primetime on the podcast network of the Pro Wrestling Report. All you have to do, folks, is real simple. Go to whatever aggregator you use, whatever place you use to get your podcast, search PWR. PWR. That stands for Pro
How do
Wrestling
you find
Report.
it on that Android thing?
You go to whatever your favorite podcast provider is on your phone, on your device, and you simply enter 3 letters in your search field, PWR. Search. Don't wait for something to pop up.
So if you
Search.
go to Google Store or Google Play Store, you put a PWR, you're not going to find it. So you got to go somewhere else to get it.
No, you will.
You will.
In the Google Play Store in the United States and Canada.
Oh, it's those British people
PWR.
that don't find it.
Correct. That's why they can use Stitcher Radio or something else. PWR, search, and our podcast will pop up. All three of them subscribe. But more importantly, we really need you to do this, folks, to support the show and help us along. Review and rate. Some of you have done so recently. We appreciate that. But review and rate, especially on iTunes, the Pro Wrestling Report podcast. Let us know what you think. And remember, you can give a 5-star rating and a negative review for him. 5 stars for me.
Why would you do that?
Negative for him. Well, some people want to, ride the line and
honest.
be sort of, they want to go both ways.
Fine. I have nothing else to say about that.
I'm certain you don't. So thank you very much. And also don't forget to check out Prime Time on our YouTube and right here on Fight TV. And, that's it, David Hero.
We're done?
We're done with episode 75 of Feedback Friday.
Fantastic.
That is fantastic, folks. Again, thank you to all of you for helping us and making Fight TV, F-I-T-E, Fight, making its largest weekend in its history occur last weekend with Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and, of course, our live coverage from WrestleCon with Fight TV. I want to thank you for all of that. It was a record weekend on Fight, and you guys all made that happen, so thank you so much for that. So, we'll be back with you again next week, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, for that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you very much for joining us here on Feedback Friday.